start on the next item about CARB and water haulers. So if you have questions, we're going to line up and you're going to identify yourself so we can kind of keep this orderly, because it looks like I'm guessing most of the folks aren't here for that.
So, if you guys didn't hear Jeremy, like what we came up with, like so it's a little more orderly, so not everyone's just trying to shout over each other, or just keep your hand up for 20 minutes. If you do have a question after whoever's speaking speaks, just kind of take over the middle row, and we'll just go in single file line in order. You know, if someone answers your question, you know, we get out of line or whatever, but that way we're not, you know, just, you know, yeah.
So, Bill, put you on the spot. Do you want to articulate kind of what?
So the California Air Resources Board has new regulations that it's kind of been announced years ago, and it's starting to take effect, where, at least for the community of Acton and the water haulers specifically, as well as other big machinery, but for the water haulers, the semi-trucks that we drive, the mufflers as well as the engines need to be replaced and updated. Or the trucks just need to be scrapped and we need to buy new ones, or new enough ones to satisfy and comply with the regulations that CARB has set out. So it's incredibly expensive. You can retrofit the existing trucks, but then they don't operate as well. So that's not an ideal or logical solution. So then you can get newer engines and try and make that work, but it's still quite expensive. And then to buy a newer truck or even a used truck that can comply, it's incredibly expensive. And none of the water haulers can feasibly do that without having to increase the cost to the customers and the community. And nobody wants that. And CARB, these regulations, of course, everybody wants cleaner air. But the way they're going about it is that they're pushing it onto these small businesses, and the regulations, they don't take into like acknowledgement of the fact that these are small family businesses and have a very crucial cause for this town. And they're not necessarily offering any sort of extensions on time or grant money or anything to help us necessarily. And I've talked to some of the CARB people. They have an Antelope Valley chapter and another section in the Valley or Los Angeles, and they pretty much told me that there's nothing we can do except for comply. All we can do is pay for the new trucks or try and get these newer engines to put into the old trucks. And so there's not anything we can really do except for comply. And I don't know necessarily what is going to happen. If we don't comply, they can fine us, extraordinarily fine us, and essentially eventually put us out of business, any of the 3 water hauling companies here. And it applies also to other big machinery. I know people who, companies that can drill wells or other big machinery, they are under the same standards with this. So even other companies are affected. But specifically for Acton, Agua Dulce, it's the water haulers mainly. And it's an incredible expense, and yeah, I wasn't aware that this was on the agenda tonight, and so I'm not sure what. Yeah, I'm not sure what.
We received an email from Ms. Carson asking if she could address the community.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
Barbara.
So we have a letter from Barbara and some other notes that we've taken. Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
This is sort of your presentation, or her presentation, so.
So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Amber, the owner of Acton Water Company, and I'm kind of speaking on behalf of Acton Water, Lunde Water, and Carson Water. California Air Resources Board, which is also known as CARB, they have implemented these new regulations on trucks. They have to be, their engines have to be 2014 or newer. All of our trucks, minus mine, which is a 2015, are not compliant. We've already been fined. Myself personally, we've already had fines and then a hold put on 2 of my trucks, so as of August 1st, we're down to 1 truck. We had 3, we're down to 1. I can't drive 2 of them anymore. Carson, as of January, they will have no trucks out to be operating.
Quick, Dr. Rivera, but, if it's kicking in January, so why are you fine now, or why can't you do that? I'm just curious.
My trucks, the year that they are, I either had to put the particulate filter on my motor, but that only bought me until 2018 because of and so I spoke with CARB. I went up to their CARB event in Truckee, California, which is an 8-hour drive up there. I spoke with them. I told them, I kind of pleaded our case that our whole town of Acton and Oglesby are gonna basically be without water with no means to get water to you guys. The county's not set up to get anybody water at this point. So they said, you know, you have a really unique situation. When you get home, call us and we'll see what we can do. So I called them and they said, oh, well, you guys need to be compliant or there's nothing we can do.
So they weren't even willing to work out some sort of schedule over?
No, I said, can you give us an extension? No. I said, you know, I even played the whole, because I did not realize that all this was taking place. I kind of inherited my husband's company when he passed away, so it was pretty new to me, everything that was happening. I told them that, I explained it to them, they said, oh well, not our problem. You should have been up on knowing about it. And I also told them, you know, there's, this is potable drinking water for the residents, it's livestock, it's just agriculture, it's everything. Everybody is dependent upon the water. And they said, oh well. I asked them, you know, can we declare a state of emergency so that we can continue delivering water? They said, no, that only applies in fire situations. And I said, well, as soon as the water in Acton is cut off, you're gonna have a fire situation. So, can we prevent it before that? No, basically, you're on your own. All of our companies have looked into financial assistance. They said there is no more. Try next year. I personally sent paperwork in for financial hardship. They said, oh, well, you make too much. Well, I make enough to get through the winter to get back to summer. So everything that we've tried to do, they've just said, oh, well, not our problem. Just to give you guys an idea, we had 10 trucks on the road between Lunde, Carson, and myself. And we can approximately take 8 to 10 deliveries a day because we can run sun up to sundown. That's approximately 500 to 700 deliveries a week, cutting us down to what we're looking at as of January 1st, you're looking at 200 to 280 water deliveries a week. So that's a huge difference as to what we're able to do now and what you guys are gonna be supplied with. We've asked for, you know, just any help we can get. We've told them we don't travel out of the area, that we just supply Acton, Oglesby. Again, they don't care. I know there's been questions as to why we don't just purchase new trucks. One reason, we don't even have a CUP. None of us have had a CUP that has been renewed. So right now we're working on an old CUP and they're allowing us to work that way, but they haven't renewed it.
So you can't even get financing because you don't even have a CUP?
Well, that's not due to the financing, but we are, why would we want to put out all this money?
Why would they risk it? I agree.
For if we don't have a CUP guaranteeing that we can work and pay that truck off. Right now, I know my truck payment for 2015 is an enormous payment, and as of right now, for a new truck, if you were to go a new truck, the cost just for like the cabin chassis is $130,000 to $150,000. That does not include the tank. The water tank itself is anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000, so that puts you up over $200,000 for a water truck that you have to finance and
determined, like, to just serve a minimum, serve all your customers at the minimum level, you need 4 trucks run, is it?
Right
I
now,
hate to be a bare bones assessor, but I mean,
so right now, if I had my 3 trucks, Lunde has his 4 trucks, Carson has his 3 trucks, we're pretty much able to service Acton and Agua. Right now, I have a wait list of over a week long, sometimes it's 2 weeks, and I'm giving numbers to anybody that can possibly take them, whether it's Lunde, Carson, out of the area, because I know everybody needs water, but we should be able to service our own people. We shouldn't have to seek other outside sources where we really don't know where their water is coming from. And we're being forced to do that. I know my company is running 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. At any minute, my trucks can go down, and then that just pushes us off even further. And all of us are in the same situation. Right now, we are trying to, but people have asked, like, why haven't we saved up for a new water truck? Well, we're barely making any profit at all with the water that we haul. We are not trying to price gouge, we don't do anything like that, we're trying to give the water at the cheapest amount possible. It doesn't cover anything extra. In order for us to cover a new truck, we would have to charge about $200 to $250 a load. There are sure people in Acton that probably could, handle that. They aren't gonna like it, but they could probably make it happen. There's also the other half of the town that are living paycheck to paycheck, living inside their means, but don't have that extra $100 that it would take for their delivery. It's a huge expense. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. It's only gonna get worse unless someone will give us a break and help us. We did reach out to Assembly Tom Lackey's office, and they did send a representative here today to hear our concerns. So we really appreciate you coming out, but we do need help.
So, would getting the CUP in place be helpful? Like, would that, obviously it's helpful, but.
Monetary wise, no, that is not gonna help us, but it will help know that they're not just gonna walk in and say, your doors are shut, we figured out a different way to go. So having a CUP in place would at least give
Some surety of.
some, yeah.
There's a meeting tomorrow, Tom Lackey, you should go there.
It's gonna be a legacy of Palmdale Boulevard and 9th Street East, 630 in Palmdale. Right, if anyone knows where Palmdale City Hall is, it's gonna be right behind it.
Isn't that the senior center?
Yes.
Legacy Commons.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah. Oh, we've been talking about it. It's
We've been-
a big problem.
Do you have any update on your CUP at all?
We
Whatever
haven't heard
is on it.
anything since they told us, was it a year and a half ago, that they would have an answer by December? We haven't heard
Right.
anything back.
well, my understanding is that the GSA, since we're no longer high priority, there was no reason to require, the sticking point for your CUPs was the hydrology assessment, right?
Yes.
Which we've thrown our lot in with you, saying that's not necessary, particularly since you're not seeking an increase in usage at all. In fact, you're looking at a decrease. Not that that's funny, I don't.
Yeah,
mean to
but it
imply
is,
that.
it's,
But, so, at a minimum, I don't know if we'd have any traction with ARB. Certainly we would absolutely write a letter or do whatever it is you would recommend.
well, I did
Fix
ask
this.
them,
Okay,
and they gave me a phone number that we can call, because I said, where do we start sending letters? Where do we start flooding you guys with our concerns? And they did give me a phone number. I don't know if you want to write it down.
yeah, and then we'll post it on our website. too,
Okay.
so.
It's 800-272-4572, and it's for OMBUDSMAN.
Ombudsman?
Yes.
Oh.
And when I asked them, who we directed to, they basically said, there's nothing we can do, we didn't do this. And I said, well, you guys are the ones that are finding us, and you're the ones that are doing 872-4572.
And what, when people call, what's a succinct way to, what should they be saying? And what would you guys want them to say? I mean, obviously, hey, we're not gonna have water if you don't do this, but is there,
I would
Emphasize fire.
say that, we're in a rural area, we have high fire.
Well, tell them that Acton has literally every other day contacted this community saying, we're gonna shut your power off because you have high fire hazard concerns.
Yes.
And the PSPS, right, power safety, whatever shop.
public safety?
Public safety power shop. And so, when that happens, if your tank isn't topped off,
Yeah.
then there's no way to fight a fire. So I don't understand why there's no emergency nexus here.
Exactly,
And so-
and also that we're your main source of water. A lot of people don't have a working well, so that would be a really great point that,
Issue then for the people who county do this, or whoever it is.
It's the state.
Okay, and make individuals suffer when they have no other access to water.
And
There's
what
gotta
happened?
be some
Well, it needs a county.
Yeah, they bring the homeless in on top of it. So that's another issue.
What happens when all the water companies in this town go out of business? Who's gonna bring water to those who need a truck?
Well, that's the question I think ARB should be asked. I mean, I don't have an answer, obviously.
We had a situation, my daughter had a situation on August 21st. Edison came out and replaced a pole on their property. She didn't know until 9 days later that they cut through the power line to the well. And I guess then she realized her alarm wasn't working on the tank, so she was down. That was Labor Day weekend. She had to argue with Edison for another 10 days that it was their fault that they cut the wire, and she couldn't get the water haulers to come out because A, they were backed up, like she says, B, they live on a horrible road, so they didn't wanna, risk their one truck or two trucks to deliver water down that road, and,
Would she call?
I'm sorry?
Would she make a phone call?
Yeah, she called.
Did Edison fix her?
They just fixed it, well, I guess it was a week ago now, Saturday, they finally came out, but, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Hi, my name's Debbie Dyer, longtime resident. I live in Kentucky now. My grandfather started the original water company. So to reiterate a little bit of what Amber said, these trucks can't be retrofitted. They're too old. They weren't designed to take on the equipment these trucks need. The problem is, who can take what you've worked your whole life for away from you? That's a problem. These people, they're not getting rich. Ronnie wouldn't live in a mobile home if he was getting rich here. He does good to pay his drivers. We're not getting rich. And you look at it, all of us drivers, we're CDLs. We can go to work elsewhere. I own a business in Kentucky. I'm not doing this because I want to. My grandfather serviced everyone. We got customers that are 50-year-old customers. How do you stop that? I'm about ready to cry. Yeah. It's really upsetting that people. Barbara asked me to make a post on the business page. They're the Acton Water news page. I've gotten people upset with me. It wasn't for that. I don't know what kind of diesel you people drive, but if you got a 1-ton diesel pickup truck, you got to update yours too, as of 2020. You're not going to be able to get a license on it. How can somebody tell you that you can just sit here and we say you got to have new equipment? How does anybody make a living? Let's go a whole different direction. The battery cars. Did you know on a Tesla car, the batteries are 2,000 pounds? Where are they going to dispose of those? You can only recharge a battery so many times before you have to. Where are you going to put those batteries on these electric cars? And you're going to say our 10 little trucks are polluting the area? Somebody needs to step up and say, hey, it's not just the big trucks. It's everybody that has. They're starting here, and it's going to work down to each one of you too. And I don't want to see any one of these companies go under because somebody didn't stand up and open their mouth. I'm mad. I'm upset. I'm watching people struggle. I'm watching people go without water. Hire somebody else to bring in your water that's got a truck that's compliant. Where are they getting their water? The fire hydrant? Where's that water coming from? These people pay $2,500 a year to have their water tested, plus quarterly for the nitrates and this and that that's in the water. It costs them thousands of dollars to just operate every year. You got your little fly-by-nights. Yeah, I'll get you. Where's the water coming from? Is it safe to drink? Do you want to go down to Joe Blow's fire hydrant and drink that water? This water's tested. This water's tested. And I'll tell you, Ronnie's dad had the water tested against Arrowhead. Our well water coming out of these 3 wells is cleaner than the bottled water you're drinking. That's a fact. That is a fact. So you guys open your mouth, make some noise. They're not looking for anything special. They want to stay in business just like everybody else. How would you like it if somebody's telling you, if you don't have this card, you can't show up to work and park on your lot today? I mean, it's trickling down everywhere. The place is totally out of control. I own a truck. I pull a flatbed. Carson's was my first job. Well, Amber's mother-in-law was my first job because my family wouldn't hire me when I was 20-some years old. Okay? I went to work for Gene. Court finally hired me. I've been in a truck since I was 23 years old. I'm 57. I own a 98. I went backwards because somebody's telling me I have to have an electronic log on my truck to tell me how often I can run. My 98 truck looks better and runs better than 90% of these pretty trucks running up, or new trucks running up and down these highways, and I can't bring it to California. You know, it's a shame. You guys need to do something, or somebody's going to be without. Barbara, she can retire. Amber, I don't think you're going to be homeless if you close down.
No, I just have to get another job.
You'll have to get another job, but you're not going to lose your home.
I'm just doing that now.
I don't know, Dave, I don't know your situation, but if these companies close down, you are all out.
I think we're all here to support them, so I think we need to find out
Make
what
some
we have to
phone calls.
do and do it.
Make some phone calls.
I have a suggestion, why don't we all go over there
To the meeting
tomorrow
tomorrow
to the
night?
Legacy Common and call the TV stations and meet us there?
Somebody do that, I'll be there.
One thing too, that you might not be considering, or you might be considering, and that's the fact that if we're not able to get water, our properties are worth nothing.
Nothing. They're worth
Every
nothing.
dime that you put into your home, every bit of investment that you've got on your property is down the toilet. So we better fight, guys, we better get petitions, we better pick it, I don't care what we have to do, we have to do something.
Have you looked at some of these new trucks going up and down the road? They smoke as much or more than these old trucks we're trying to run at a low speed. You know, we're not trying to beat them up and down the highway, we're just trying to get from here to there.
There should be an exception for the ones that aren't alive.
Okay, so somebody said, how about the farming plates, or the, I don't know what you call them here, but agricultural plates? They're not even looking for that. Do you know these trucks pay $550 a year per truck on heavy highway use tax? They pay that. They're not looking for that exemption. They're not looking to pay, I know my truck in Kentucky is $2,200 a year to license. I don't know what these water trucks are. I'm sure it's more than my $2,200 per truck. They're not looking for that exemption. Let them run the highway.
That's not counting all the health regulations we have to do to the truck too.
Exactly. Every one of these trucks has to be
The health
tested.
department wants us to go to all stainless steel now, which is another $44,000 for one tank, on top of the cost of the truck.
These trucks all have to be safety tested. They go through their bit inspections they may be ugly and they may look like whatever. They pass their safety inspections. They do the job. The trucks are all tested for the potable water. They have to be health inspected. They have to go through the whole deal. They're not looking for exemptions from that. Just let them work.
Just
So-
something restricted license or something.
So, you know, hey, you catch us out of the Antelope Valley, give them a fine. Everybody's trying to work here
I
together.
don't go out of the Antelope Valley.
No, but I mean, you know, give them something. I'm just coming out, I'm talking off my head, just get. All right, guys.
I think what we're looking for is what would you like us to do? I think, you know, what, this is a great question. Yeah, so, you know, I think from our standpoint, I think we can, again, try to work with the county on the CUP angle. I think that's something we can make some influence and try to do something, step into that. I think as far as CARB, I think we probably can entertain writing a letter or do something like that. But what would you guys like us to do? We have,
Mr. Lunde is standing right here too. I'd like Mr. Lunde to address the,
I've almost given up, so I really don't know what.
can we have it quiet back there, please?
It's just,
Please.
every day is tough, knowing that you work so hard, and you don't get anything, so it's kind of hard for me right now. Yeah.
I think it's this, the way it's set up too is like hypothetically, if we were to even update, it says if we got 2010 engines, well then that's only good until 2030, and then you have to update again. So it's this sort of cycle that's gonna keep on happening, so they want us to comply once, but then 10 years down the road, invest more money once again and do, so there's something, it just, the way it's set up, it's a rigged game already. And when we ask what can we do, what can we as a community do, what can we as a council do, yes, the council can write a letter and help us with the CUP and maybe write a letter to CARB, but then, like as Amber was saying, we have a phone number we can call, but then where do we, as a council, send this letter? Who in CARB do we speak to? Directly. We need this direct line of contact that we don't have.
We'll do whatever, it doesn't have to just be a letter.
You booger up their emails, you booger up their phone, until you get something done.
Right, so
Well,
as a community.
we're only gonna be one of those, everybody needs to do that, I mean,
everybody in this room and beyond this room, that's what the kind of groundswell we're gonna need to get anything done. Because just a letter from us, we've had lots of conversations about the CUP angle and we're still waiting.
how
on that.
many thousands of people are we talking about here? A huge amount. I mean, in the thousands, it's gonna make the unincorporated homeless look like a people on the.
Have you guys been, I mean, this is kind of a dumb question, but have you guys been communicating to your current customers of like, hey?
I do,
Okay.
everyone I go to.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
I mean, we're
You
talking.
can come up here and then that way.
I don't understand, because CARB has been so unhelpful. What about our representative to the state? Like,
Well,
why are we talking to CARB? I mean, we have a representative who's supposed to represent us and help us. So, I mean, shouldn't we also been?
So he's.
Is that you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Could
Really
you?
quick, just to jump in front of this, hi, my name is Brandon Roque, I'm field representative for Assemblyman Tom Lackey. I also live in Acton and am relatively.
Well, could you speak a little bit to what you could do for him? How we could help you to help us?
Yeah, I can jump in a little bit. So obviously Amber reached out to us. This has come up a couple different times over the years. I have been talking to CARB a little bit just to see if there's anything we can figure out. We've been looking into some different angles right now. I'm gonna keep following up with Energy Commission CARB tomorrow to see if there's anything. I do wanna meet with all the water haulers after this to get a little information from you guys, give you guys my email so you can send me some information. And right now, unfortunately, I can't guarantee anything that is gonna happen 100%, but we are looking into some different things that hopefully can at least, if anything, push the regulation off a little bit to give you guys more time, or hopefully move around, because you guys are in a very interesting situation, being a lot of this regulation went into effect for diesel trucks that are high emissions in specific areas, not so much for rural communities. So it is a different thing.
I think you're missing a larger point. It's not just these three voices. It's everybody who owns a house that has to truck water. You're stealing the value of our homes. Our homes are gonna be worth nothing.
I
And we're
completely
not gonna be able
understand.
to sell it to anybody.
I completely
There has to be
understand.
some action that we can take to get them to recognize that they are making us homeless and they're stealing, they're robbing the value out of our house.
I completely understand. I've lived in Acton for the last 17 years. This is something near and dear to my heart.
Do you have a well or you got?
I'm on city water, but the vast majority of the people I know are on wells. It is something that is very close to me.
So are you part of the annexation project from Lancaster to take up to the line of Acton? Like the city of Santa Clarita is
Wait, what?
trying to do up to the line
For
border
the
of
water.
Aqua
That one caught me really off guard.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't have a lot prepared today. I wasn't actually expecting to speak. I'm not 100% sure in any way about that one. I apologize.
One of the problems is gonna be when the
people run out of water and there's a health emergency, the fire department and the emergency hospitals are gonna have to be servicing everybody, because you can't let them die and they'll die without water. So Lackey has gotta do something.
Well, this happened in the
We need
Central
it.
Valley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they
So-
came in and put it back the way it was after it, 6 months or a year of emergency, water delivery. They came back and said, okay, you guys can start delivering water again. That's the kind of crisis
Let's get
we're
ahead
in.
of this situation and not make it an emergency.
Well, you know, it seems to me that bureaucrats are unbelievably talented at taking a statute and twisting it so that they implement it the way they think it should be written and the way it's actually written. So I have seen it happen over and over, that you take a rule and you make it work for you. So there's gotta be some way to take this fire issue, the cutout in this regulation, and twist it so it works for us. We are constantly barraged by bureaucrats telling us this is gonna happen in our town, or this can't happen in our town. And when you drill down and look at the actual regulation, it doesn't say anything that they tell us it says. So, I mean, there's gotta be a way to make it work for us, just this once.
Well, the barrage from bureaucrats is motivated by developers who wanna buy our properties for pennies on the dollar and put a train in Northern California. So
I don't dispute that. I don't care what their motivation is. I just wanna find a way to twist the
You need to
rules.
care.
No, I don't care about their motivation. I just want results. I want the rules twisted for our benefit, because I'm tired of it having constantly the reason, by the way, the reason they don't have their CUPs is because the county's told them they all have to do hydrology studies. Now, I have told them that, and they said it's a CEQA requirement, the California Environmental Quality Act. I have told them that CEQA explicitly does not require any new studies or any new environmental assessment if the permit they're seeking to renew makes no change from what they've already been doing. Because CEQA is very clear. CEQA does not apply unless your project creates a change in the environment. You are an existing operation, there is no change. So you should have had your CUP years ago. But regional planning and whoever else within the Department of the county agency has said, no, we don't construe CEQA to say that. I'm like, it says it in black and white. Well, that's not how we read it. So that's why you have this requirement. So I am just fed up of people not working with essential community services, people who provide essential community services, in a way that they can continue working. And I know there's gotta be a way to make this emergency fire, whatever provision you were talking about. I've not read the statute, so I don't know it. But there's gotta be a way to make it work.
So Brandon, should we be there tomorrow?
My trucks already have holes on their registration, so I sent one of my trucks to auction last week.
And my son had to do the same thing, and he's in the construction business. Anything that doesn't meet that standard.
They basically told me, just scrap it. You can't
Yep.
sell it, you can't do anything.
That's what they told us too.
Yeah.
All day long.
So that's what we're
Right.
trying to do.
Right, that's what we did. We shipped ours to Arizona. But why? We're here. Why?
Because we live in California and there's a bunch of people running it.
I've even tried to work with them, like, because they have the new, you can only run 1,000 miles or under. I even said, what if I make it a low mileage truck? Well, you have to show that for the last 5 years that it's been low mileage. I said, but what if I want to make it low mileage right now and stay under the 1,000 miles, just so I have that extra 1,000 miles for the summer? Nope. It doesn't work.
That I could do mine that way.
We did? They told me absolutely not. I had to show for the last 5 years that it's been under 1,000 miles.
Well, you need to find out from her how she got it, because you know what, that's another thing these bureaucrats do.
You got two
They
white
apply the rules differently to different people. The same rule applies to you differently.
Well, I'm in the process. Let me throw another little something out there, guys. California's the only state in the country doing this. They're the only state doing this.
My truck, I'm gonna tell off on myself, if I get the $1,500 fine, I have to sneak my truck from Kentucky in here to come visit my dad. I know how to get around the scales, I know how to get fuel before I get here, and I know how to get out of the state without getting caught, okay, to come visit my dad. If I get caught, I'm allowed 1,000 miles in the state. If I go over 1,000 miles, it's a $1,500 fine, first offense. Okay? But it's a shame you gotta sneak to come see your parent, isn't it? California's the only one doing this to you guys. I can run my truck in every other, and I do. It's an over-the-road truck.
And like she's saying, the fine, my letter states from CARB that they can fine me up to $1,000 a day for delivering.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it gets very pricey.
You know, it seems to me, the trucks they're blowing all the emissions, you got your hot rod trucks. California, did you know Caterpillar engines can't be in a truck because of the state of California? Emissions? Killed the Caterpillar engine for trucks nationwide. Can't happen. You got your old-time truck drivers, they're hot dogs, they beat their trucks up and this and that. Yeah, they like to show off and they like to blow smoke. These trucks here, they're doing a job. Go put them on a machine and exactly see what emissions they're putting out in comparison to a truck that's, have you ever sat next to a truck that's got the DEF unit on it blowing off? It'll make you sick. If you pull into a truck stop next to one of these, you're moving. They're awful. I actually read somewhere that with the DEF burning off, when what it does is it supercharges and burns off all the carbons in your pipes and system. I've actually heard they were gonna, I belong to Owner Operators Independent Driver Association. They're actually talking about reversing this because this, I was gonna say, well, you know what I was gonna say, the stuff that is burning off is actually killing the birds. So let's go there. What are you gonna do? We got a few emissions, but you're gonna have some bad stuff in your water. Do you want to smell a little emissions, or do you want to drink some stuff that's definitely going to do you some damage? But California is the only one doing this.
With the emissions, that's the whole thing, it's air quality. And we are in Los Angeles County, this is a statewide thing, but we are in a rural area, and specifically these businesses stay, for the most part, if not strictly to these rural areas. And in between us and Los Angeles is the Angeles National Forest. And we're not in an urban area, this is rural country. So we might be putting out emissions, but there's 10 water trucks in this town total. And we're in a rural area with a national forest right by us. There's the air quality, yes, we're putting out emissions, but it's not like we're in an urban environment with thousands of other semi-trucks and regular vehicles. The air is being regulated naturally to some extent. I don't have the exact science on it, but it is nowhere near what, when CARB made these regulations, they weren't thinking about a small town with a small amount of trucks next to a national forest in a rural area with lots of open air and land. It just doesn't compute, and they need to, if they're gonna do these things, they need to do it in a case-by-case basis or town by town and just see the.
Provide a pathway for exemption and say like,
yes.
hey, if this is your only supply of water for your town, there should be an exemption path or process to apply for, not just a.
How many of you guys get really ticked off getting behind us because we're doing 45 miles an hour over Escondido or up in Crown Valley? Man, I have you guys passing me between Ace Hardware and the 49er on the right. How about get to the stop sign in front of the school and the park? They're passing me on the right between the parked cars at the school. You're trying to get over, but hell, they're already there. They're already there. You can't even get out of there. We don't want to be in your way. But you know what? How much smoke is coming out of that 45 miles an hour? Not much. Not much. We're not running 65 miles an hour.
Is there anybody here from septic or drillers or propane? Any of those people here?
No.
They all updated their trucks, and here's why. My brother drives for Underwood water trucks, great big 3 trucks, right?
Right.
They run 30 plus trucks. They can afford to shut some of those down, sell them, whatever. But you know what they're doing? They're taking their trucks any one of us would love to have one of those trucks. They opened a new yard in Atlanta where they can still work their trucks because movie business is moving to Atlanta. But in the meantime, they're able to update a truck a year or this or that. And they're doing it. But they're in the movie business, they're making big bucks, and they work every single day, nonstop, with these trucks, making big money.
So the drillers, propane, those guys.
Drillers? How about my dad and his grader? He had to quit working because his grader, the thing he made his living on.
What I'm asking
is
isn't
gone.
that, I'm
They
saying,
can't.
are there more people
Yeah,
that
that are
band
affected
together
by it.
to have
Anyone,
more?
I don't know, they need
anyone
to.
who has a
If you got a
diesel
small
truck that does not have the DEF fluid in it, they are non-compliant, basically.
I know that one driller has left.
So yes, there are,
Right.
there are plenty of other companies going out of business.
Any of you that have a 99 or older,
Small
a 2000 or older, one-ton truck that's diesel, you ought to be jumping on our bandwagon, because it's affecting you too. If you don't want to get rid of your old dually pickup truck, you need to be on there too.
Or they're just continuing to run without registration.
Just one
Yep.
comment, Jeremiah? I'm sorry, I forgot your
I'm
first name.
Debbie.
I'm Debbie too. When she said that it's all going to affect us, I was just reading an article about, the UN had their annual get-together in Salt Lake City. And one of the things that California does, they follow to the nth degree what the UN wants in the way of sustainability. Our sustainability plan that's just come up, the SEA, and all these things. One of the main topics of conversation at Salt Lake City was that they are going to require that everybody's car meets the same qualifications that these diesels meet now, or have to meet now. And we're talking within the next 5 years. So if you own a 2007 Chevy Avalanche, you're either gonna have to sell it and get a new truck, or you're gonna have to retrofit it. If you don't own a hybrid car like a Tesla or a Prius, you're gonna have to go to electric. And you were saying the batteries,
2,000 pounds on a Tesla.
2,000
I haul
pounds on a
cars, 2,000
Tesla,
pounds on a
on
Tesla.
a Prius,
And
a new
when
battery costs $5,000.
Let me ask you this, how many of you have seen the charging stations that are operating off of a diesel engine? How about that?
But I'm
Makes
just
sense,
saying-
doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's not just, it's not
All right,
just
guys,
the Lundes
make sure you
and
post all that
everybody.
info so I can get done working for Ronnie tomorrow and get to that meeting tomorrow night, because I can run this track.
It's just that it's going to
It's
affect all of us.
extremely expensive to replace the motors.
You can't, on these particular trucks, you can't replace the motors.
Well, we replaced a motor, a diesel motor in one of our trucks, and it was 80 grand.
Okay, but what kind of truck was it? These water trucks weren't
No,
designed.
not.
No, they can't,
It's-
first off, these trucks aren't designed, there's no room to put the DEF tank on it.
Right.
There's no room to put the DEF tank on it. There's no room to put the filter, all the stuff that they has, it's not accessible on these trucks.
The cost
It-
of
it's
deal
just-
would be just about.
Cost of a new truck.
We just sold one to
Yeah.
Arizona.
So what is?
What are you gonna say tomorrow? He's gonna go talk to his boss.
Okay, so I mean, how high can we go? I mean, should we get start emailing the governor?
I mean, honestly, please do, that would be awesome. Realistically, all of these regulations were set forth by a bill back in 2015, it was SB 1. Both Senator Wilk and Assemblyman Lackey voted against SB 1. It still unfortunately passed. These are the ramifications we're seeing from that bill. CARB took a lot of these regulations from SB 1, and that's what we're seeing now. Both the Assembly member and the Senator that represent this area voted against it because of the issues that you guys are bringing up. So you are preaching to the choir. What we can do with our office is reach out to CARB, reach out to other agencies to see if there's any grant programs, any workarounds, any carve-outs that can be done to help you.
What about a meeting?
We're having multiple meetings. I can definitely look into one directly for this. I know we are planning one, I believe next month, for a town hall for Acton. So the assembly member will be here to just speak about any issues in Acton.
Which one?
What do you mean, which one?
How about Catherine, for starters? She hasn't been here for a long time.
She's not here.
I I represent the state, not the county. That's it. So
And
essentially.
what about Mr. Yoga Pants?
What?
Who? Oh,
Our other guy.
Garcetti?
Yeah.
That's a
And what about Newsom?
That's the guy.
We can give away all of our emails, we can flood them, and they're still gonna do nothing.
So let me preface this. I'm a representative for Assemblyman Tom Lackey. That is the only, unfortunately, the only person that I directly represent. So I'm definitely gonna have Assemblyman Lackey here. We're already planning to have it, community coffee here. I don't have the exact date for it yet. I'm actually still trying to get in contact with the community center to book it for the date. Once I have the information, we'll have flyers out. I will let all of you know for sure. That one's gonna be dealing directly with issues for Acton. The one tomorrow is in Palmdale. A lot of the issues are gonna be coming from Palmdale. Please, you guys are more than welcome to come. I definitely recommend coming. The issue is a lot of these things, I'm already gonna be bringing up to the assembly members. It's gonna be.
And we voted for her.
So it's,
She needs to come here.
and have,
Not send high heels and lipstick that aren't gonna fix the problem. You want emissions fixed, get rid of hairspray.
You know what, we cannot
Hey, guys, decorum, we're not gonna make personal, no personal attacks, please.
Yeah.
We have standards of decorum.
Not at all.
And we will start reading them at the beginning of every meeting if we have to. These meetings are to be conducted with respect and with regard for each other. So please, I'm sorry, but I'm the meanest mom on earth. I just told a whole bunch of teenagers that this weekend, and they survived, so I'm bringing it here. We take up the issue on the CUP on behalf of the water haulers, and we support the activities that the water haulers initiate in any way that we can.
Is there a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion second carried. All right, thank you everyone for coming out.
Thank you.
We did reach out to Supervisor Barker's office, and they were very receptive to meeting with us about the new proposed revision. If you were at the last town council meeting, it was, a number of us discussed the concerns that we had when we watched the Regional Planning Commission hearing that happened in July. A number of the things that were said at that hearing were troublesome because the planning commission, county council did not clarify to the planning commission, did not clarify to the planning commission the facts of the situation surrounding the project that has triggered this CSD revision. So, Supervisor Barber's office, Adelphis Carb, who is now back with the supervisor's office, has agreed to meet with us on the 19th to discuss these issues, and I can review them again if you like. I have all the paperwork here. And Pam said she is able to go, and I don't know who else is able to go.
I said I would be able to.
Oh, I missed that.
And I can arrange my work schedule.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that email, I apologize.
No, that's all right.
It's, I think it's at 1 to 3, it's in Los Angeles, I'm willing to drive in the,
It's at one.
in the,
Okay.
I think it's at 1.
I think that's what you
have to
told
pull
me.
it up on my thing here.
Okay.
It's at 1 PM meeting in Los Angeles with Adelphis Carb at Board of Supervisors office in Los Angeles.
It's Thursday, right? Yeah.
That's correct. So, so that was really good news, because at first they set the meeting up for October 30 or something, and then we responded back saying, hey, the hearing's in September 24th, so a meeting in October isn't going to help. So here's the information. Part of the concern was that the planning commission was told that the development just had to redo their traffic study. It was a fix-it ticket, and then once the traffic study's done, then they'll just go ahead and start with the project, but that's actually not true. The court clearly stated that the county will have to prepare an EIR, and that the entire approval has been vacated. And so, a number of the things that the planning commission were told were factually inaccurate, and county council did nothing to correct the, what the commissioners were told. And then the county council made some specific comments regarding, whether or not the project was approved anyway. so that this revision has nothing to do with, whether or not the project was approved, which actually was beyond the pale, because when the project was approved, the Board of Supervisors was not told that the project would require 2 traffic signals, that the project would increase the time for residents traveling from Antelope Woods after they've dropped their kids off at the school, but add another 1 minute and 19 seconds to their journey time. So there's a number of concerns about what the Board of Supervisors understood when they initially approved this project, and there's the fact that the project itself, the approval has been put entirely aside. There is no approval. So we're going to be meeting with the county and discuss those issues to set the record straight, if nothing else. So, anyway. So let me know who's gonna come, and we'll maybe meet
Here, let's meet
like,
them.
yeah, like maybe 11:30 or 11:30, or between 11:30 and 12. That's okay.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
Ask them.
Ask them what we wanted to ask them. Election update. So I think we kind of had that earlier as well.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
received. I put mine in the mail.
Okay.
Did you?
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Kelly.
I've been sweating bullets on you guys. Come on, the rest of you guys need to kick it in.
All right, so I think that's.
Yes.
It's
that's
just
it.
hard to compete with Jackie, so I don't know.
I'm not running.
No, but I
There's
mean,
no competition.
I'm just here, you're.
Jeremiah, that's
Yeah.
a gentleman.
You said we're passing on the subject of Hefner Road?
I can't hear you.
Sorry, what?
You said we're gonna pass on the
Yeah,
subject?
we're gonna table, because what we were gonna ask, for was, trail access. So if we look at the trail maps for the area, there's a trail that abuts the back piece of property. So we wanted to say, hey, in our, if we're gonna, be supportive of it, we'd like to make sure that there's some access to the, like a feeder trail, to get to.
For hiking?
For multi-use trail.
Yeah, multi-use trail.
Not that he has to build it.
No,
or
just
do it.
provide-
Just
yeah.
don't fence it off,
Yes.
that's all, so.
I was just curious what Hefner was brought up about. so.
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, we have other concerns with Hefner, but it has nothing to do with that, but we'll talk about it another time.
Okay. Yeah, that
Well,
was.
actually, you could raise it now.
If you want to talk about it.
Because we're gonna
we have
ask
a
you
slot.
back for the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be at the next meeting,
Okay.
so I need somebody to take notes.
Okay, I'll take notes.
Thank you. I'm gonna be in Texas.
All right, so for new business, looks like we have, we're gonna, whatever goes on with the water, we're gonna write a letter of support, we're gonna be supportive of it.
That'll be on items for the next agenda.
Yep, and then, we're going to add,
This is items for the next agenda, right?
yes,
Okay.
sorry. And then,
So this is-
we're gonna add the road discussion from Pulsa Rosa,
Right.
and we'll see what else comes up in the.
And what else was the first thing you said?
The first thing was, well, it's not really a new item, I was just kind of recapping what we went over. So, it was just the letter that, of support for the water haulers.
What we already.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I was going through my highlighted items.
Okay, will we have the election on there next time too? If-
Yes,
if
yeah,
we
because
don't-
it'll be, it'll be finalized. So. All right. Those are the new items, and with that.
Do you want me to do the numbers? or-
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In terms of new businesses or businesses or not finished business, there was like a dog training business that never opened and actually closed now, right next door to the sushi restaurant.
Yes.
Does anybody know what happened there?
No, I don't.
You do know?
Oh, he does.
I don't. It's on the shopping center off
Yes.
Sarah Harry.
Yes.
Yeah, the county zoning didn't allow dog training. Essentially, it didn't allow dog training on that property because of the zoning. Now, I cannot remember the details of why that is, because our office had got a call and we looked into
So,
it.
dog training per se or dogs on the property?
I think it was the training specifically, not dogs.
Okay,
I
so-
could look that up, but I think it was the training part.
Okay. I'd like to know a little bit more about it. I know they left, they vacated the building.
Yeah, and the only reason I know about it is because we got a call at our office, so if you want to send me an email, I'll look up what the
Thank you.
situation,
And
because
the
we went
reason-
back and forth with regional planning for a
And
while.
the reason I like to know is because I'm not really interested in training per se, but there is a lot of need for like dog daycare or
Oh, okay,
out-
yeah.
Yeah, or dogs that are needing like hospice,
It's
if
been-
owners are not home and they need to drop off their dog that needs special care, medication, whatever.
I can, send me an email, I will find out what that is. So this is kind of a
Okay.
dog care, it's a 24-hour, less than that kennel kind of thing?
It would, I don't wanna say kennel, I wanna call it more of a, like a
Yeah,
dog
but
daycare.
it's what regional planning will say, oh
Is that
no,
what they'll
that's,
say?
yeah, that's what, I don't know, but I can ask, but send me an email and tell me what address it's gonna be, and we can look it up.
Sounds good, thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. I think that's it. And with that, we will adjourn.
I can give them to her. It's okay. Okay. So for August, we had 4 burglaries, all residential, 1 at night. The other 3 were daytime burglaries, and then 6 thefts, 3 grand thefts, and the rest were petty theft. And 3 of those were from an auto. So
Same auto or different auto?
different autos, but different note, on the Iowa Dulce meeting that you and Jackie attended with the well yield, didn't they say that if your well would not be, couldn't produce, and then if the trucks can come in, the county would just condemn your property?
Oh.
Remember that?
Lillian.
Say that again?
That if your water, your well yield dropped below whatever, just dried up because your property's from the 70s and you only drilled 200 feet, and the guy that built, you know, his last year is 800 feet, and now you run dry first, but then because they're not able to truck water in, your property can't have water, so then it'd be condemned because you'd be dry.
Well, essentially, I mean, that
Yeah.
makes sense, I mean,
Yeah.
on its face, it makes sense,
Right.
because what do you, how do you sustain life if you can't have a?
Because I know that was brought up, wasn't it?
I think there was something to that effect, was my
There was-
understanding.
Yeah,
Insinuated that
I-
that would
I'm
be.
trying to.
Well, if there-
Because you got upset because of the